Okay, so now that you have an idea of what the features are of the next meeting list and you kind of understand how it works and at least the elements of the next meeting list, now we need to talk a little bit about the judo of the next meeting list, the rhythm of the next meeting list, the movement of it, right? So it's kind of like the same thing if you're teaching someone how to drive, right? You wouldn't take a 15-year-old kid and go, okay, this is the gas, this is the brake, here's your blinkers, and now, okay, jump on the freeway and let's see what happens, right? There is a little bit of a movement to it that needs to be established for it to function well. It's not difficult. It's not going to be this complicated thing. It's going to be super easy, but you do have to pay attention to some of the rules and how they interlock with each other. And that's how the movement's going to work. And then if you do that, it's going to be a success for you. When I've taught next meeting list to people, almost every single person I've ever taught CPP to, it has revolutionized their world. I literally, and I'm not saying this because I'm trying to, hype it up or anything like that or sell you anything, because I'm not trying to sell you anything. But the reality is there has not been one person, I have not found one person that I've taught CPP to that it didn't lower their stress, stop them from being overwhelmed, help them hit their goals. Now, the crazy thing about CPP is, again, it's going to make you more effective. It's going to make you more efficient. It's going to make your team more effective and efficient. And next meeting, like I said in our last meeting, the next meeting list is a mini framework within the CPP framework. But when you get to the next meeting side, when I do see people fail on next meeting, it's not because they don't understand the elements of it, the goals and the not prioritizing the highs and the mediums and lows. They get it. They know what it is. They can recite it back to me. They fail because they don't understand the movement of it. They don't understand the judo of it. So that's what this video is really about. This video is about how do you move in this and what's the wisdom behind actually getting into a good rhythm where this works really well. And if you are a leader or if you're the manager, you're going to have to facilitate that rhythm. You're going to have to keep everybody on track. I'm going to kind of walk you through that and show you what it looks like, so that way it all makes sense to you, and then we can kind of go from there. Okay. So the first thing is that I'm going to the goal part of it, I'm not going to go too deep on. What I will say about the goals is that you should frequent the goals at least once a week. I like to go through the goals. If I'm meeting with the team every day or 3 or 4 times a week, I don't try to go through the goals every time, but I do want to go through the goals once a week. I want to kind of look at our quarterly goal pretty frequently, at least once a week. And on the 1 year goal, I want to look at that at least once a month or so. And then the 5 year, you can kind of look at it. But what I usually tell people in the beginning is just look at all of them once a week. Just kind of go through them. You can go through them as the leader. And then as time goes on, you'll figure out the rhythm as to how often do you want to actually go through the goals with the team, right? Because if you have a pretty deep team or a deep project, going through the goals on every meeting could take up a good chunk of the meeting, and you want to be as effective, as efficient as possible. But the principle behind goals is you do not want people to lose sight of the goals. That is really the important part of it. You don't want people coming unanchored to the goals. You want everybody to understand the goals and remember the goals. And as a leader, one of your roles is the chief reminder officer, right? You're talking about the vision, you're giving them the vision, you're repeating the vision. A lot of times leaders get frustrated with this part of their job, but you have to understand you're dealing with people, different thoughts, different minds, different ways of seeing things, different ways of thinking about things. And you don't want to end up in a situation where you're just assuming everybody's going to always be on the same page, because people's brains work differently. You're keeping them as a leader on the same page. So you want to frequent the goals well enough where where everybody on your team is on the same page. Now, the other thing you want to do with the goals is every time you're coming up with a sub goal, you want to look at the goal above it. So for instance, every quarter, you're obviously going to create new goals, and those are going to be your more frequent goals because it happens every 3 months. Well, when I look at my quarterly goals, I definitely want to look at my 1 year goal. So as a unit, if I'm creating Q3 goals, because we're in Q2, so in June, at the end of June, I want to establish our Q3 goals. When I'm establishing the Q3 goals, I want to make sure I'm looking at this 1 year goal very well. And I want to make sure that this Q3 goal is putting me in line to the overall 1 year goal, that if I do this here, I'm going to set myself up for Q4, which is going to set me up for the year. In 2024, when I go set up this year goal for 2020, yes, this is 2020, we're in 23 right now. So in 2024, I want to be able to come to my 1 year and go, okay, well, we're in December of 2023. I'm about to go into a new year for 2024. What is my 1 year goal? Well, I want to take time to really look at the 5-year goal deeply and think about it and go, okay, in light of when we started this 5-year goal and in light of the year that I'm currently in, what do I have to do this year to keep me on track here on the overall 5-year goal? And this becomes a very organized way for you to make sure these are all interlocked. And here's the trick. At first, like I said, you guys should just kind of look at it frequently. But once you get really good at CPP, once you get really good at the next meeting side of things, what you're going to get to a point of is you're going to go, oh, well, I don't actually have to look at the ultimate goal and the 5-year goal constantly, or the 1 year goal constantly, because when I set my 1 year goal, I deeply reflected on my ultimate 5-year goal. So while I'm in the year, I just got to keep on track with this year, which means each quarter, all I'm looking at is this year goal. And so that's how the goals kind of interlock. Hopefully that's all making sense. And then once you get out of the goals, now we have these 3 sections here: your highs, your mediums, and your lows as a unit. Now, this is an incredible interlock itself, and each one of these speak to each other. But what's cool is these all speak to the overall goals. And this is how you keep people on track. And this is one of my favorite parts of this system, because everything is interlocked. So if I'm doing my quarterly goal, I'm doing my 1 year goal. If I'm doing my 5-year goal, I'm doing my ultimate goal. If I'm doing my mediums, which are the things that need to be done this month, I'm doing my quarterly. So this month, things that need to be done this month would represent the month that I'm in. So I'm in May. If I'm looking at the quarterly goals and I'm in Q2 and I have my goals laid out here for Q2, my medium should be the things I'm going to do in May in order to accomplish the quarterly goal. So it's all interlocked. It's all interlocked. So that's kind of how the system works. So now when we get into highs and we get into mediums, I'm going to give you some rules. So I always tell people, I go, hey, which one of these items, high, medium, or low, are the most important? And usually what people tell me is, well, highs are the most important. The truth is that mediums are actually the most important. And I'm going to tell you why. So every single month, one of the rules is you have to go through all of your lows, okay? Now, what's important is the reason why you do this is because you have to trust lows. What I mean by that is if when you're clearing your not prioritized section, as I covered in the last meeting, you put things in low because they're lows, because they're not things that are going to be done this week and they're not going to be things done this month, and you put it in low and you never come back to your lows, you'll never trust lows, because lows will turn into a black hole that you never put anything in. And if you don't trust lows, what you're going to do is you're going to accidentally force yourself to put everything in high or medium. So one of the funny things that I teach when I teach CPP to people is I go, okay, your highs, I'll try to take people's low, things that need to be done in low, like things that aren't for this month, aren't for this week, put it in low. And it's so funny to watch how distressed they become, because they're like, I can't put it in low. I got to do it. And they want to put it in high. They want everything to go to high. So next thing you know, they got 25, 30 highs, and they're trying to create highs of the high. And they're creating categories of high. Well, this is the highest of the highest of the highest of the highest of highs. And then they wonder why they're constantly stressed out, because what they're doing is it's an outward expression of the internal reality of the way they're thinking. They don't trust themselves, so they always want everything in high, because that's what they believe. How they believe they're going to get it done, which means they're constantly stressed out. When I go to someone's highs and I go, hey, the rule says 5 per person. Why is it that you as a team, you got 3 people here, and you guys have 60 highs that you're putting in here? What's going on? Well, these are all important things. And it's like, yeah, but there's no clarity now. right? And they're not all high for this week, right? So that's where the time frames lock you in. This is where it makes it a lot more cleaner and a lot clearer and a lot more doable, and without your team being stressed and overwhelmed and constantly in clouds and constantly in chaos. So the key to lows is you have to trust lows. If you don't trust lows, you won't go into lows. So what you're going to do is you have to look at your lows once a month. Now, here's where the beautiful little dates come in. Last reviewed. Your date is here. So when is the last time I went through the entire section of lows? If that date is more than a month, you know you're making a mistake. What I usually tell people to do with lows is I tell them to take those lows and put it on your calendar to remind you to check them once a month. If you do not check your lows once a month, you are going to create a traffic jam in the entire system. You will break your next meeting list. Because what will happen is you'll get into the lows, and again, it'll become that black hole. It'll force you to put everything in high or everything in medium, and you'll never get anything done. You'll end up stressed. You'll end up unclear again, and your team will be falling apart. So you must go through lows once a month. Now, once you go through your lows, what are you going through your lows for? You're going through your lows to go through them and find out if there are any new lows that need to be pulled up into medium. So every month you're going through it and you're looking for the lows that are going to go into medium for this month. The important items that you want to get done this month, and here's the funny part, here's the important part, that are going to be interlocked and that are going to help you execute on your quarterly goal. So for instance, example, right now it's May 11th. The last couple of days of May, I would go through my lows and I would go, in light of my quarterly goals, what things must be done this month with my team. And then when I go through my lows, I'm pulling up anything in low that supports the things that I'm going to do this month in order to hit my quarterly goal. So it keeps everything nice and uniform, nice and interlocked. And sometimes as you grow, this lows will have pages of lows on it. You'll have a bunch of stuff on there. There'll be a lot of stuff in there that's not relevant right now. They're things that you want to get done at some point in time. But the guiding light is you're pulling up your quarterly goals and you're going, what must be done in order for me to execute my quarterly goal, which will help me execute my 1-year goal, which will help me execute my 5-year goal. So in light of the quarterly goal, what should be in medium? This is going to help discipline you. So you're not in a situation, because just like highs, where everybody wants to put everything in highs, people go through lows and they're like, oh my gosh, I really need to do that. I 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 need to get that done. I need to get that done. That's so important. I've been wanting to do that for a year. And before you know it, they fill up their mediums with 35 things that they're never going to get done. They're just wishfully thinking. They're affirmatively thinking. They're not setting themselves up for true execution. As a leader, you cannot allow this to happen. So what you have to do is you have to go through your lows, and then through your lows, you're looking at them, you're experiencing them, and then what's happening is you're pulling up the mediums that are important and ready to go for your quarterly goal. Now, the last part is, again, same thing. You're going to review, when did you last review your mediums? Just like lows, there's a last reviewed. Well, mediums are done for the month. So you should be reviewing your mediums in its entirety weekly. Every week you should be going, okay, what are my mediums? What are the mediums? What are the mediums that I have? Where are they at? How are they looking? So on and so forth. Then what ends up happening is you're making sure that those mediums are getting moved into high for execution. When something goes into your highs, it's going to make it to your calendar. So you're actually experiencing a little bit of the CPP framework. Capture, prioritize, place. Placement is put it in your calendar to get done, or have the team members plan to execute. So you're taking lows, you're moving them into medium, and then every week you're moving mediums into highs that need to be executed on. So that's kind of the movement from low to medium to high. Now, your highs are also going to be made up of things that are urgent. So your highs are going to have urgent and important items. Your important items are coming from your medium. These are the pre-planned, pre-forecasted items that you're moving into high. Your mediums are the things that you said are going to get us to the goal. right? These are the things that are going to get us to the goal. So what's going to happen is my mediums are the important things. That's why when I say our highs, mediums, or lows most important, your mediums are your important things. So you're going to be systematically moving mediums into high because they're important. But on the urgent aspect of it, if you've been running a department, if you've been running a team, if you've been running a unit for any period of time, you know that even if you have important things that need to be struck, even if you have goals that need to be hit, there is constantly fires getting thrown at you. There is constantly problems. There is constantly new tasks. There is constantly curveballs being thrown at you that cannot be ignored. And that is where the urgent comes in a high. When those items pop up, when all of a sudden one of my team members puts an urgent item on here that can't be ignored, my boss puts an urgent item on here that can't be ignored, something gets revealed to me on an urgent situation that can't be ignored, and it's coming here and not prioritized, I'm having to get those things done by this next week, which means it comes into my high. So my high is going to be made up of urgent items and important items that ultimately came from medium. So this is kind of the judo of that. And you're keeping the goal of 5 items per person, okay? That is going to allow you to have execution. So hey, if this week comes and I move up a bunch of mediums and I go, okay, these are the 4 important things. If we get these things done, we're rocking and rolling on our quarterly goal. And all of a sudden a fire breaks out that creates 5 mini fires, and those things are urgent and they got to get done. I have to look at this rule and go, okay, in light of this new urgent item, this fire that just broke out, how many collective things do I have assigned to me? How many collective things do I have assigned to Susie? How many collective things do I have assigned to John in light of the urgent and importance for each one of them? And have I broken past the 5 item line, right? If I have, I need to remove some of my important items and drop them down into medium. This is going to create a tension in you, especially when you start striking goals and you're moving with great momentum. You're going to hate moving important items down to medium, but it is the reality. So you have to be disciplined in CPP. If you break the rules of the 5 and you go, okay, we're just going to get it all done, it's going to manifest itself outwardly in your guys' team dynamic. Because what that means is, if all of a sudden I got a team member, I'm like, this fire broke out, I need you to do all these urgent things, there's 4 urgent things I need you to do, and I still need you to do these 3 important things, and so on and so forth. If I were to quantify the amount of time they have in the calendar, I might be giving my employee 90 hours worth of work. That's not healthy for them. I'm not going to do that. So it's important for me as the leader to look at this and go, how am I stewarding my people? How am I taking care of my people? How am I setting them up to succeed? Without being stressed, without being overwhelmed, how am I doing that? And so as a leader, you're regulating the amount of items they have. And here's the other thing. You might end up in a situation where you find out that, hey, John and Sue, they only can handle 2 things because that's their current capacity. They're not a 5-person thing. They're not a 5-item person. They're a 2-item person because that is their capacity. This goes into knowing your staff. This goes in knowing your team, knowing the members that you have on the team, and going in there. Hey, I might have John and Sue, and they're actually 5-item people. They have a big, large capacity. They can do a lot. They can get a lot done. They can do it well. They can handle it well. They manage time well. Great. Did we just get hit with a project that's going to take 50 hours? Maybe today, maybe this week, they're only a 1-item person, right? Maybe I'm not giving them 5 things because I recognize their calendars and I recognize the restraint on their time. So I need to make sure that I give them a proper amount of priorities so that they can actually execute in a healthy way, in a consistent, sustainable way. So that's how you're kind of managing that list. Now, last rule before I kind of end it, to mention in the other video, all of you guys are going to be dropping all your ideas on not prioritized, and you're going to be clearing your not prioritized every single meeting. When you go to clear that meeting, you never want to be in a situation where you're taking that not prioritized and you're dropping items into your medium. All not prioritized, 3 things happen. Either they get deleted because we had a conversation, nothing else to talk about, nothing to prioritize. They get prioritized into high because they're urgent, must be done, no questions asked, or we drop them into low. They're things that need to be done at some point in time. You never drop something into medium and go, this needs to be done this month. Because what happens is you already, if you followed the rules once a month, you went through all your lows, you determined the things that were best, you determined the things that needed to be done in medium, and you probably have already brought in the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 things in medium as a unit, or 10 things as your max, but you've already maximized your mediums, or you already put together the mediums for the month, and you did that proactively before you went into the month. If you start just shooting things into medium, what you're going to do is you're going to dilute your important things. You're going to start to make it impossible to get through the things that you got done, or the things that you looked at earlier in the month that you predestined and said, these are the things that are going to allow me to strike my quarterly goal. This medium to quarter goal interlock is critical in goal setting and goal execution. You never want to dilute it, confuse it, or mess it up. So what you want to do is you want to discipline yourself and go, okay, if it's an urgent item, it's urgent. I'm following the five items per person. If it's something that I think is urgent, but my highs are already filled up, your natural inclination is going to be, okay, I'm just going to do it this month. Let's jam it into this month at least. Be patient. Decide. Does it need to be done this week? If it needs to be done this week, put it in high. Make sure you follow the rules of high. If it's not, put it in low. Trust yourself. You will go through your lows. You will pull it up at the appropriate time. That's it. So you got to pick high or low. That allows your mediums to stay locked in with important items that are going to help you succeed. The important items are the ones that are going to actually help take you to the next level. So hopefully that helps you out. If you like this video, if this video is helpful to you, make sure that you subscribe, make sure you like. We shoot these videos because we are trying to help companies and people and departments that are having an underperforming department problem, or having dysfunction, or having chaos, come into clarity and come into success. So just, again, subscribe, like, so you don't miss a video. Talk to you soon.